that every single website, including or TV, including WWE or AEW, that Sabu's 1964 to 2025, right?
Yeah.
It's always 1964. Every single one of them is wrong. I'm sorry.
When was he born?
His actual birthday was December 12th, 1963.
How funny.
You
Okay,
know?
we'll get into that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. It's the
And
Pacific
I
Rim.
made sure.
It's very sweet. Very nice. We'll show that on camera too. Very nice. All right.
Yeah, original. And I have, yeah, and this.
Very nice. Very, very nice. All right.
I'm not an action figure guy.
Right.
But I have Sabu. I have Sean Waltman.
Your friends.
Terry Funk.
Right.
Road Warriors. That's about it. Yeah.
I have Road Warriors.
Yeah.
The Road Warriors figures are so expensive.
Is it?
I bought the because they're so expensive, and I'm not a figure guy. I don't want to pay that much. You know? I just bought the Remco ones from when I was
the Road Warriors I have is an AWA.
Right. That's what I have. Yeah, me too.
Version.
Here, hang on a second. Hang on. I'll show you something.
Yeah.
So I bought. I'll do a big reveal here. So I bought the figures, right? But look at the belts I bought to put on them. Like the real belts.
Oh, bought it separately?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's AWA figure.
Right. Because
they
were
like,
they're like $10. So I'm like, I'll spend $10, but I'm not going to spend
back then.
I'm not going to spend $50 or $100 on a Road Warrior figure. It's not worth it.
Couple $100. Something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're pretty, and I'd like to have them, but I just can't justify it. So these are. I remember these from when I was a kid. So, all right. Are we doing this?
Yeah, because it's just kind of like Sheik's real birthday. It was never revealed, and as time went on, his birth year, like a professional birth year, gotten younger and younger.
Right. Well, I don't know if this has happened to you, but there are
some people say he was born in 1924. Some say. Yeah, so it's part of the thing, huh?
Well, there used to be celebrities. There used to be celebrities that I was the same age as, and now they've gotten younger, and
you're older.
Yeah, it's
like a pop idol.
Yeah, it's funny how that is. We used to be the same age.
Yeah, when they had to, when they didn't have to lie about the, age.
Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, that's funny.
Let's crank this. Let's do this real quick.
Yeah, so the Wikipedia is wrong. So everybody else.
Well, we'll set that record.
It's gotten wrong, I guess.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
It's the Pacific Rim Pro Wrestling Podcast, the podcast that takes you from Seattle to Tokyo at all points throughout history. Here in the Seattle area, it's Jim Valley, and we head across the Pacific Ocean, the Pacific Rim, Tokyo, Japan, and Japan's leading journalist, historian, and author, Fumi Saito. Hey, Fumi.
Hello from Tokyo.
Hey,
yeah.
I knew when we got the news about Sabu passing, when I saw your post about how it hit you, I can't say I was surprised. I know that you and he were very close for a long time.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys meet?
It was November of 1991, I believe.
Oh wow.
November of 1991. It was Sheik's first tour with FMW. It was like actually the original Sheik's 13th or 14th tour to Japan from old JWA to All Japan to back to New Japan and All Japan and the tag team tournament, the Sheik and Abdul the Butcher and the whole thing, right? All the way through the 70s into 80s.
Right.
Then he didn't come back for like probably close to 10 years, 9 years. Then when Onita's, Atsushi Onita's FMW started, it was a direction that Onita wanted people like Terry Funk, the Sheik, the original, and Sheik's return was a big thing. That it was a Onita's FMW version of tag team tournament, November to December, kind of like All Japan tradition, New Japan tradition, end of the year tag team tournament. And Sheik made first appearance with Onita's FMW in November of 1991. He brought tag team partner, his nephew, Sabu.
Now, was he Sabu in 91?
That was his first trip.
First trip with Sabu. Interesting.
Yeah, 91. Yep, first trip. And actually, that magazine, I had a sit-down, long magazine interview with the original Sheik, the return of the Sheik,
Right.
And we did that at the hotel restaurant, and the Sheik brought young Sabu with him, sit right next to him. So we met, Yeah. Well, it's 91, 34 years younger, 34 years ago. So we were both 34 years younger. And that's how we met. Then the beginning of 92, following year, that the Sabu started coming to FMW just about every tour, 6-7 trips a year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And Sabu always credited Onita as a first promoter to give him real break,
Not just be an underneath guy, but actually a shot.
Well, in America, actually, Sabu started, basically debuted in 1985. You know what I'm saying? So he already had 6 years under his belt, but it was not a very great time to start because. Can I go back a little history?
Sure.
Listen, the Sheik, the original Sheik, had his own wrestling territory. The big time wrestling in Detroit, Michigan. Not just Detroit and Michigan, but into parts of Illinois and part Ohio, parts of Indiana, and up to like a borderline, the state border, the Ontario, Canada. And
Right.
Sheik had a Great Lake area. The big time wrestling was fairly big territory, 60s and 70s, well into 80s. But it was a time that, of course, 1984, Vince McMahon's version of WWF had a national expansion, national tour, and at the same time stealing every top talent from every single company. Remember that time?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And Sheik, and I should add Dick Bruiser too. Sheik's territory in Great Lake, Michigan area, and people like Dick the Bruiser's Indianapolis territory, they were old territory to begin with, And for instance, the Sheik's territory, the greatest main event, the Sheik against Bobo Brazil for like 25 years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, when I was much younger, I didn't understand how could these two pair, Sheik and Bobo Brazil, could have have feud one against each other, because they didn't turn. Sheik always heel, Bobo Brazil always baby, the same format, right? How could this matchup, one matchup could last that long, huh? But as I got a lot older, I guess I start understanding. But how many years did Inoki have series of matches against Tiger G Singh? How many years did Baba have a program against Abdul the Butcher?
Right.
Yeah, so it was like, Fujinami against Ricky Choshu, something like that, So if you were there, every time they had a different storyline, huh? Then when you realize the feud went on over 20 years. But reality is, both Sheik, Bobo Brazil, or anybody who was in Detroit area the full time for that time, longer time, everybody got older, and they after Sheik, they never really developed new generation talent. And Sheik, tried to hang on to this big time wrestling Detroit territory until about 82, 83, and the ring that like a last squeeze of everybody, and it really went down, like went out of business. And it was the time, Sabu wanted to be a wrestler, you know,
Well, I
and
remember, Georgia wrestling was really kind of the first one to go national over TBS. And Georgia wrestling started to get
Cable did
postcards
it.
and letters from people in Ohio and Michigan and all these places from the Sheiks.
Come to our territory, yeah,
Yeah, from the
yeah,
Sheiks' old
yeah.
territory. And then Ole started running into Lansing, Michigan, and into Youngstown, Ohio, and things. And the Sheik was mad because he
Of
felt
course,
like, he closed down around 80 or something like that. And
yeah,
he was
yeah,
mad because he never got paid for his territory. And being Ole Anderson, was like, what territory? You closed it. He's not paying you, you know, an effing dime
yeah.
or
So
what.
the things were changing,
Right,
Old
right,
time, oh, yeah, old time from like from where you from, people wouldn't invade Dan Owen's Portland, but it's
right,
kind of far away. But the business associates,
right,
the National Wrestling Alliance will send Portland Ric Flair as a world heavyweight champion maybe once or twice a year. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
right.
But still affiliated.
I remember,
Not the whole crew came into your town.
I remember as a kid, it was like 1983, and Andre the Giant came to Portland,
Yeah,
and
once a year.
and I had seen him. Yeah, I'd seen him a couple of times as a kid,
Yeah.
but I remember on TV, the announcer said, "This may be the last time Andre comes to visit us." And as a
You
kid,
see?
I was like, "What the f is he talking about? What? What is what? What a liar! Andre's here all the time. You're just trying to get extra money."
Yeah, there was
But
a
actually,
political
they were.
reason,
He
and
was
yeah,
telling. He was telling the absolute truth. Things were
yeah,
things were
because
changing.
big companies coming to your town,
Right?
big company, yeah.
They were
So
gonna.
it was all together, George Orwell, 1984,
Yeah,
future, and that happened, like in early stage that, yeah, the old fashioned old, promoters should know when the cable TV hit national, they would
right.
come, if it wasn't Vince McMahon, of course, for Detroit, like you said, World Championship Wrestling, Georgia, after cable, Saturday night, 6:05, that eventually will come to town,
Yeah,
But yeah, that it wasn't the only reason, but the Sheik's territory was like a dying territory,
yeah.
And Sheik's getting old, all the friends, promoter, everybody else getting old. And also, it was really like old fashioned territory that you have to drive,
And by the way, if you haven't seen it, you can see some of the Sheik's footage on the old movie. I Like to Hurt People, and that's sort of a
Yeah, yeah,
dramedy
yeah, yeah.
documentary,
But
fake
that's not.
documentary.
That's a
Anyway,
'70s
I'm
movie.
just saying.
'70s movie. And he was already pretty old.
Right. I'm saying
Yeah,
if you want to see some of it, that's where you can see it.
yeah. And then the Sheik will tell you, and it's actually truth that the territory like that every Friday night at the Kobo Convention Hall, Kobo,
Right.
every Friday night you have 8,000 to 10,000 people local,
Yeah.
in heyday. I mean, and then he was saying that Rolling Stones was playing next door, and we outdrew them. you know, yeah, that's probably true, for some point, and back to Sabu, yeah, he wanted to be wrestler and told Sheik that wanted to be wrestler and yeah, start training when he was 19. Yeah, but a lot of story coming out about him getting shot, you know, when he was 19. And now that this week that so many people started talking about Sabu, and why didn't they before,
Right.
But yeah, and but we'll get to that. Sabu started training when he was like 19, and Sheik wouldn't let him be in the wrestling ring for next 2 years. Let you build the ring, build the ring, clean up the gym, clean up their dojo, and go to the building. They were still running small show local, like almost like a cash day-to-day business. You're still running local shows and going to building like high school gymnasium, like then you build the ring, you sweep the place, you sweep the babyface locker room, you go clean up the heels locker room, keep your mouth shut, don't hang out, don't sit with anybody, stay by yourself. Yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. And she finally started training him, not telling anybody that he was his nephew. Old fashioned, huh?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think I know. Was Sabu
yeah.
his Sheik's brother or sister's son? Must have been sister, right?
Sister's son.
Yeah.
Sheik himself come from pretty big family, 9, 10 children, and Sheik and Sabu's mom Eva are the two youngest of that Fahart, family from
Right.
Syria, and youngest one is Eva, Sabu's mom, and the second youngest is Ed, the Sheik, and they were close, and it it's like it's interesting that the most people today's even journalists and TV producer, they really want to make sure that is this wrestler in character and is this guy's in after character kind of thing, right? In
Right.
Sheik's generation, the Sheik was the Sheik 24/7. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, when I went to visit Lansing, Michigan, I stayed at Sabu's house a couple days, and that we went to Sheik's house. Great, and all the relatives and cousins and they're all family. The couple people are not strangers. Somebody just walked in the house, somebody walked out the house, somebody stopping by. They're all relatives. You know what I'm saying? And everybody was calling him Sheik. Is Sheik here? I mean, nobody called him Ed or Uncle Ed or anybody like that, Yeah. And it was interesting, yeah. And the she called Sabu right before we went to visit him, that stop at the Lebanese grocery store, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And buy non-preserved, the natural yogurt, the green olive, not canned but bottled, and couple that the Middle Eastern ingredients. I can't remember the name, but the kiwi, the green olive, not bottle, the not canned but bottle, and a certain kind of yogurt and a certain kind of bread. Make sure you pick it up when you come to my house. He said, yes, sir. And I had a great time going to Middle Eastern grocery store, and yeah, Sabu is nephew, and Sabu's mom, Eva, is younger sister of Sheik, for the record, yes. Sabu himself come from pretty big family too, that 3 sisters and 3 brothers. And Sabu is the youngest of 7. And mom, Eva, was like 45 years old when he was born, like a very baby of the family, And everybody growing up, got married, went out, different places. And Sabu, the youngest of family, was the one who lived with his mom because she had a condition, that very serious, diabetes, medication 3 times a day, this and that, and he was there to take care, her a lot. The youngest of 7, but the closest, and the funny story, when he was pretty much, working full time with FMW the first few years, like 92, 93, 90, 4, that you come in like 6, 7 times trips a year, and then why don't you live in Tokyo, right? Then his answer was, yeah, but I have to take care of my mom. It was like people go, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm thinking that it's like a mom's baby kind of thing. So no, it wasn't. He really had to live with her to take care, his medication and everything. You know what I'm saying? Or take her, hospital visit, you know, every third day, fourth day, or whatever. And when he was, like going to FMW tour for 3 weeks, he made sure that like each day's medication and everything else is all written down and give it to Ivan, and morning pill, afternoon pill. You eat this Monday, you eat this on Tuesday, you do this, and you call her, my sister that day, and he was calling her from Japan every afternoon, and I thought I was like, yeah, very close with his mom, sweet, right?
Yeah, that's very sweet.
Yeah, yeah. And rewind a little bit, he finally debuted in 1985, 1985. And the Sheik still didn't tell all the other wrestlers or even referees or anybody around there that Sabu actually was his real nephew, and not to. I mean, it's like people accuse him like favor him, right? It's like almost like a backward. It's like wrestlers and referees, other people, concessions. Like, God, Sheik hate you. It's like, no, he doesn't. He loves me, because she kind of almost like picking on him all day long, right? Like, do this and do that, do this, do that. It's like, yes, sir. Sweeping. It's like, go get me this, go get me that, go get me another coffee, get everybody coffee. It's like, Sheik must hate your guts. No, he doesn't. He loves me. Then he finally debuts, right? More respect. I now have so much respect. I'm in a similar situation now. BJ Henning. Okay, very good. Yeah, that not telling people, but so it was kept in the secret that was kept. Then he finally debuted. His ring name was Terry SR. Terry SR, capital S and capital R. Like senior? No. Capital S and capital R, right? Terry SR. It's like, and Sheik never told him what it meant. And he felt like this must be Sheik's rat or something. I mean, SR is like, still didn't, you know, tell him what it meant. It was like mysterious, but it's like almost like a master, you know, martial arts discipline type of deal. Don't you think? Yeah. And then one day, he told Sabu that I'm giving you this name. You are Sabu. Sabu. Sabu? That's your name. Then that day on, then he was told that grow your hair long and never cut. Never cut your hair. That's like he start growing hair real long until Sheik said it's okay to cut it. I mean, like, it won't be that long, but until the what Sabu, length, and so he didn't always have that long hair either. He was told by the Sheik that grow your hair long, never cut it. You are Sabu. And Sabu was like actually like was like a name of the movie or name of the like not the Harley Quinn, but like 1950, 1906 short novels, and the
Right,
movie Sabu, the Elephant Man, Sabu, the Jungle Boy, and
right.
he, Sheik actually wanted to be Sabu when he was younger.
Well, there had been other wrestlers who used the
He was named Sabu.
Sabu.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
not even close to the first.
right, and not nearly as successful.
Right. Well, that's true too.
Yeah,
He's by far
and
the most
yeah,
famous or the most
yeah.
successful
Yeah,
wrestler.
well, there's other sheiks too. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
there's Sabu. Yeah, and the sheik himself wanted to be Sabu and wanted to name his son. I mean, sheik's actual son. They actually wrestled. A couple guys. A couple of sheik's son actually wrestled, but kind of quit. I never really liked wrestling to begin with. Can I quit, please? It was a family business. that Captain Ed,
Right.
the Sheik's oldest son,
Yes.
had to wrestle, but he wanted to quit. And but that's not the subject today. That uh, the point was that Sheik wanted to name his actual son Sabu, but that Joyce wouldn't let him. Joyce, his
Yeah.
his
His wife.
his wife, and another interesting fact was that Sheik was actually always the promoter and the owner and the booker and the lead role of big time wrestling in Michigan, right? But he couldn't tell the world he was a promoter. So on program, on the program at the house shows, always had a picture of Joyce's father, Sheik's father-in-law, as like figurehead, president of big time wrestling, and it's so old fashioned, huh? And yeah, it wasn't part of the business, but Joyce was, because Joyce was like one of those, Arabian,
Right.
the manager for a while, but she actually ran business, like writing checks to wrestlers and stuff, yeah. And she was also really hard on Sabu too. Yeah, nephew, but start growing hair long, and yeah, and also start going different places because you know you're becoming Sabu, meaning that you're on your own. Now that you might be traveling with Sheik, but you may not be traveling, and you went to different place, like other independents, and even went to Jerry Lawler, Jerry Jarrett's Tennessee, territory for a while, but here and there, because when you say 85, 86 into 87, that's definitely your WWF against NWA Crockett, WCW, two huge company going, both company going national, and the semi major league like world class start dying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Vern Gagne's AWA still survived, but closed shop in 1990. And it wasn't the time for new wrestler to to actually go into full time territory and have experience and 7 days a week matches and experience kind of thing in the different turfs. And Sabu tried to survive, but it was Onita that Onita wanted to bring in Sheik, the real original Sheik, and wanted to mentor young FMW company. And the timing was great that it was also Sheik's decision to bring Sabu, and you stay here and work, and you become really becoming what Sabu is. Yeah. Are you with me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like the first trip, November of 91, but 92 on, 92, 93, 94, and FMW, Onita's FMW running full-time territory. And you have Americans too, Mike Awesome, the Gladiator, the Canadian, that Tyson, that
Oh,
Tyson. Oh my gosh. Oh, Titan. Yeah.
Grant. Yeah. Titan.
Rick Titan.
Yeah. Rick Titan. And then,
Yeah. Big Titan. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And then Hogan's nephew, Horace Boulder.
Older
Yeah.
spoiler, but isn't there? Oh shoot, the guy Tyler Maine, was he there too? It's been so
Tyler
long.
May. May.
The big tall guy.
Did he have different name?
Man, I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah. Some guys came in, disappeared too,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of the guys from California, like, like Bill Anderson and his guys,
Right. Yeah.
and some of the, territory guys,
Right.
and or like Chris Jericho and his friends, the Dr. Luther and a whole bunch from Calgary, and some stayed, some didn't. And Mike Kirshner came in, and they had a pretty good, healthy, good size company. And Onita and Tarzan Goto still there, and like Rookie Hayabusa and Rookie Masato Tanaka. And Megumi Kudo, Combat Toyota. It's a pretty big company. And Sabu went in and really becoming his own. And I believe he was the first one for the table spot, today's term, breaking table. Sit the guy on the table, either in the ring or outside the ring, lay the guy out, and use the flip or front flip or somersault or moonsault, and destroy the table. Later on, it's not really Dudley's brother's fault, but a lot of people believe it was Dudley brother get the table and made this table spot famous. But really, Sabu was doing it years and years before that, and every single moves were pretty original. Air Sabu, the Arabian kick into a lot of things, or he could do the regular moonsault, but he wanted to have real cricket, moonsault, so Arabian moonsault, put Arabian on top of all the names, and pretty much original moves, and another old-fashioned deal was that when you become original character and the original style wrestler, it was told by a lot of old timer, you have three wrestlers that you like so much and you admire so much and you emulate. Three wrestlers. You combine these three wrestlers, make it into, like one style, and that becomes your original. And I was told by late Nick Bockwinkel, exact same thing. Nick Bockwinkel told me, you gotta have three wrestlers that you admire and emulate, but not copy, but you kind of put these three wrestlers, veterans together. It probably will become your original style. And in Nick Bockwinkel's case, it was. Are you with me? Okay. In Nick Bockwinkel, it's gonna take just another 2 minutes. Okay. In Nick Bockwinkel's case, it was his father, Warren Bockwinkel, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and Dick Beyer.
You can see that too.
Warren Bockwinkel, Buddy Rogers, and Dick Beyer. That three wrestlers combined, and it became really original Nick Bockwinkel. It was a great thing. Sometimes you taught by an old timer, right? And Sabu's case, Sabu was telling me the exact same thing. You want three wrestlers, three superstars that you love so much, you admire so much, you want to be like them, but you don't necessarily copy what they're doing, but essence of it. Essence. Are you with me?
Oh, yeah.
Sheik's three wrestlers, three superstars who are, of course, original Sheik.
Right.
Yeah, of course. The second one, Tiger Mask, the original Satoru Sayama Tiger Mask, and Superfly Jimmy Snuka. The Sheik, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and the original Tiger Mask. Those three wrestlers combined, you have Sabu. Does that make sense? It does to me.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Fascinating? Oh, okay. Yeah. So and also I was so fortunate that, that I really witnessed how Sabu, evolved into, to the Sheik's partner and tag team partner, also the guy who was carrying Sheik's back, suitcase,
Right.
and to more of a tag team partner, and the really famous fire death match FMW had that everybody almost got killed. And let's get out of here. And it's like losing oxygen in the fire death match that day. And also Sheik actually had a heart attack in Japan, and Sabu was there, and he some things that the people still make kind of misunderstanding him is that he was not exactly deathmatch wrestler. He did that until he gets there. You know what I'm saying? It's not the only thing he wanted to do. He was willing to sacrifice. He was always willing to jump into barbed wire or the barricades, cage match, all these things But it wasn't. He would do it and sacrifice himself and also give it to your opponent, give everything to the audience. But doing deathmatch wasn't his goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to be regular wrestler too, And if you watch late, like a 1950s black and white, footage, the Sheik actually was wrestling too. The original Sheik, all we remember is foreign object and this and you know poking people's forehead with object or walking around, and chair shot and double count out DQ and once a year big flame of a fire. Yeah. A lot of people thought he does a fire, like all the time. And Sheik told me, no, I only do it once a year. Okay, once a year, sir? Yeah, once a year. Why is that, sir? Special, only special occasion, and also that the finale of the program. You know, yeah. In American territory wrestling, you have to work with same opponent for length of time, huh? Then one beat one, the other beat you, then into a no DQ match or I don't know lumberjack match or two referees, three referees, then finally death match or something like that, to finish up the program. And Sheik used this fire out of nowhere thing to finish, And amazing thing is though, he was never pinned 1, 2, 3 in Detroit over 20 years.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, but he got away with it. And
Until he didn't.
there's a footage that exists out there that Sheik against, yeah, Andre the Giant.
Right.
Andre the Giant didn't even beat Sheik. He got the
Right.
fire, then blinded Andre. So that's how they did it. But anyhow, so three wrestlers combined, you know, Sheik, Sayama Tiger Mask, Superfly Jimmy Snuka. That you can see Sabu in there.
Right.
And that was a time FMW, tape trading was, FMW tape trading going back and forth, and eventually got to Paul Heyman's, it's like, I want this guy here, and that was a time ECW wasn't Extreme Championship Wrestling yet. It was Eastern Championship Wrestling run by somebody else. And the then booker, Eddie Gilbert, and the promoter, had a falling out. And Eddie walked out of the building, and they needed somebody to run the dressing room and an entire card with angle and storyline and then finish and everything. There comes Paul Heyman, and he eventually took over the whole ECW thing, and then became Extreme Championship Wrestling. And Sabu was first one that he wanted to, introduce to American audience.
Right.
Something he was watching in Japanese video. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, back then, extreme was like people use epic today. It was the buzzword, the adjective. Today it'd probably be epic championship wrestling. You mentioned how Sabu,
Epic.
yeah, did he want to do all the table spots and want to do that? Or did that just
Table spot was creative one, not bleed, like a bleeding and a chair shot or like he didn't think barbed wire was everyday thing.
right?
You know?
But I mean, it got to the point where you saw Sabu on the card. You expected the triple jump moonsault. You expected, a couple of,
Yeah.
You expected
That's good. That's good.
Someone mentioned I've got a Jabber Jaw shirt on.
Yeah, but the table spot isn't dirty. Table spot isn't dirty,
Right.
and jump this triple step jump. Like a chair onto the top rope,
Yeah.
very acrobatic and athletic. And he created it, and it was really good one. But not barbed wire and the flame and fire and the 2x4.
Right.
why that the barbed wire wrapped around it. It actually wasn't him. It was something evolved from what he was doing before that. And there are a group of wrestlers who really does or do plural, of course, that the deathmatch oriented thing only. But
Right.
it really never was Sabu's goal.
Right.
Yeah. And while FMW too had ups and downs, right, financially and popularity, and when FMW's business was sliding down, Onita came in and told Sabu that I've heard you got offer from different places. I said, yeah, always hear it. Onita said, you can go. Yeah, yes, sir. Then he took offer from New Japan. If you remember that Masa Chono introducing his secret partner, kind of right after he turned heel, and he brought Sabu into New Japan, and he ended up winning IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship of all things.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, IWGP doesn't. I mean, does that fit Sabu's legacy? And
Right.
yeah, actually, he won IWGP Junior Heavyweight title in New Japan environment, and at the time, people like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, the Dean Malenko, the Liger, Kanemoto, everybody, all the names were there and had a very interesting encounter. Yeah. And that New Japan junior. By the way, he didn't want to be junior heavyweight wrestler.
Right.
That eventually he wanted to be like Sheik's U.S. heavyweight championship. The reason Sheik had U.S. title was that it was still technically NWA territory, and you recognize NWA world champion, whether it be Hardy Race or Dory Funk or Terry Funk or Ric Flair, that the world heavyweight champion will come into your town once, twice a year. Therefore, Sheik in your town, you're a U.S. champion. But Sheik had the physical belt at his house. And Sabu wanted to have the red, United States map on it, that
Right.
U.S. belt. I'm going to
The
be
one
able to have it someday. Yeah.
The
That
one
didn't
that
happen.
Flair,
Yeah. I'll get to that. Huh?
yeah, the one that
Yeah.
Flair held, Piper held, Steamboat, all
Same design. Yeah.
wasn't it the same
Got
same belt?
red leather. Yeah. That's a symbolic belt.
Yeah.
And some belt mania people, do a duplicate of that design too today. Yeah. Anyhow, yeah. So Sheik, not that Sheik, Sabu appeared in New Japan too. And then by the time New Japan Pro, it wasn't the place for him to stay like forever, because he understood you'll never grow out of this junior heavyweight division. You know, and New Japan only give you just couple two, 3 tours a year. FMW was his full-time gig, and also he wanted to be very loyal to Onita because, like I said, Onita was the first major promoter that gave him break,
Right.
and let him be himself. Yeah, and he felt that the New Japan was more controlled environment. Yeah, big company, huh? Yeah. Anyhow, that was around the time that Paul Heyman stopped bringing Sabu and the living legend Terry Funk, of course, but Chris Benoit, the Dean Malenko, the Black Tiger without mask, Eddie Guerrero, all these guys right after the Japan tour into Philadelphia. Now, what, the 2300? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, the
ODCW Arena.
2300 Arena,
Yeah, ODCW Arena. All these like working almost full time in Japan guys that you see on video trading, VHS tape guys. Like Paul started bringing these guys into building. Like a very much like that's why if you go to ECW Arena, you can watch these guys live and part of the ECW movement. Yeah. Then in Japan. Sabu is one of the wrestlers who started FMW, right? But New Japan Old Japan. And he even worked places like uh, Hustle, and Big Japan, the New Tokyo Pro Wrestling. One summer he spent whole summer with Michinoku Pro Wrestling, and even Jimmy Suzuki's special shows. When he got sick, real sick, and got sidelined in 2005, group of wrestlers got together and ran the show, afternoon show and night show called We Love Sabu to raise fund for his medical bills, and he came in and over 50 wrestlers because they were gonna have only one show that 2000 summer of 2005, but so many Japanese wrestlers and local guys wanted to be part of this Sabu show, and
Oh, we lose him. Oh, what happened? Um, we freeze? Are we frozen? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hang tight, everybody. We are frozen. We may have to come back. Let me see what I can do here. Hey, Fumi, can you hear me? Let's see if he's there. Is he gone? I think he's gone. Is that my side or his side? Yeah, I know, right? All right, well, we'll just hang out for a minute here. By the way, yes, I am wearing a Jabber Jaw t-shirt. There's that. Yeah, hang on. Sit tight. We'll get him back. Hey, I seem to have lost you. Oh, there we go. Are you back?
Yeah.
There we go. You're back.
Tokyo, Seattle.
Yeah.
Even 2025, this happens. I'm sorry.
No big deal. It happens. We were kind of blocking every now and then.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Oh, Sabu, all the people coming to his show.
Yeah. 2005, the
Yeah.
Sabu age, We love Sabu. Then so many, over 50 wrestlers and referees and whomever do the music or sound and the building ring or run the concession. Everybody wanted to be part of this Sabu benefit show, and so many people involved. Says, "Whoa, we have to run two shows." It was now defunct Difa Ariake building. You were there.
Yeah,
it's gone now. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Sumie Sakai ran
There's
the
a new
thing.
one though, right? There's a new one.
Ariake Arena with 10,000 people for basketball and
little,
other things.
A little bit different.
Yeah, Difa Ariake was like perfect for wrestling. 2,000 people, and when you got there, you thought ring was really close, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So that was a place that we ran. We love Sabu show, and that was all supervised and basically promoted by Sumie Sakai, and now she's retired, but she lives in Florida. But so many wrestlers, wanted to be involved, and it was like how much that Sabu was loved in Japan. Yeah, and there was a. Can I talk one more episode after 2005 Sabu show?
Of course.
That was the 2005. We love Sabu benefits show was the night I met Kyoko Kimura.
Oh, really?
Hana Kimura's mom.
Right.
Yeah. Kyoko Kimura, at the time wrestler, of course. And she came and introduced me, herself to me and said, yeah. And I'm have to Kyoko Kimura said she has to speak with Sabu and want to thank him from years back. Yeah, okay, let's go. And it was a time when Kyoko Kimura dropped out of in the middle of 10th grade, then joined the FMW dojo to become a wrestler. Then a few months later, she hurt both knees and was sidelined, and she kind of quit once. Then she'll return and become wrestler. But when she was new face, the trainee for FMW dojo thing, you still trouble with wrestler, right? She was buying a whole bunch of grocery to do the dinner for all the wrestlers for the night, chanko and rice and vegetable, fish, meat, all these things. Was holding all the big groceries, and while she was looking the other way, Sabu was right in front of her. And when she noticed, Sabu already paid for all the grocery that she was buying. And said, then the 15-year-old Kyoko Kimura went and asked the register lady, what just happened? He said, that gentleman over there already paid. Sabu picked up. Well, he was buying his sandwich or something, right? But he paid for all the food that was a dojo purpose, Then she didn't really have chance to say thank you very much to Sabu for another 10 years or so. You know what I'm saying? No, probably another 12 years or so. And that was a night that the Kyoko Kimura wanted to go to Sabu's dressing room and say thank you very much. I'm a wrestler now, and thank you very much for your generosity and this and that. And I explained that to Sabu. It's like, do you remember that? She was right behind you buying a whole bunch of groceries. You were right in front of her, but you went ahead and paid for all the groceries she was carrying. Yeah, then he really remembered it, So that was a girl who was behind you. Yeah, now she has like a big, afro perm hair. But at the time she was 15. Kyoko, Kyoko, was 15, 16-year-old rookie. But that was a great connection, don't you think?
That is cute.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a story I need to. And also that the birthday. Okay, we're already talking about the almost 50 minutes, almost like an hour.
We're about, I want to say probably, let's take a look. We're about 40 something minutes in.
Okay. God, it's like I'm like an old lady, an old man that just talking about old friends. One more thing.
We can always we can do another show.
Yeah, but one more thing. All the graphics, even WWE or AEW or other website, all the place with Sabu's in memory of Sabu, it was 1964 to 2025. It was actually, I'm sorry, it's wrong. Sabu's actual birthday is December 12th, 1963. He was 61 years old when he passed.
There we go.
1963, not 64. 1963, December 12th. And he graduated from high school 1982. And he just turned 61, in December, And this coming December was going to be his 62nd birthday. When he passed, he was 61, not 60. And he was born in December 12th, 1963. But the Wikipedia has been wrong, all along. And even the people even great producer like WWE, still listed 1964. Everybody else did. Yeah. But kind of like, you and I talk about this, rockstar, rock stars age, when you were young, Susie Quattro or somebody like a Tiffany or somebody used to be same age. As you grow older, this rock singer became younger than I am, right?
Right.
And for that matter, the original Chic, his birth year wasn't never that clear.
The celebrity who was she's either my same age or she was a little bit older. And now, for a lot of years, she was younger. And now I think she's finally caught back up to me.
Okay,
It
okay,
was Catherine Zeta Jones.
okay, okay. It
Because
happens to a lot of
there
female
was,
singers, huh?
when we went to Australia in 2001, I would have been 31 when we
Okay.
I get I born in '69, so it's right on the cusp, depending on the year. But anyway, so she there was the tabloids in Australia are worse than ours here. Just like
Really?
oh yeah,
Really?
very catty. Very there was a commercial for some tabloid in Australia. Talked about Catherine Zeta Jones. Eye job at 31. And then, because so that was just drilled into me that she was 31, the same age as me. And then as I got older, I would see her age from time to time. And I would see that she was either still 31 or 30 or 29. And I was like,
That's okay.
yeah, yeah.
But so she was
Now, now she's
even the Japanese books,
yeah,
like either Sheik's birthday is 1924, 1926, 1925. It's like
actually
sometimes, yeah.
in the chat, BJ Hennig, you're
Yeah.
exactly right. She started aging
Racing
backwards
backwards.
after
Okay,
the,
okay.
after the
All
movie
right.
Entrapment. You're exactly
Okay.
right. He's
That's right.
exactly.
Is
That's
interesting.
one thing. That's why I always promised myself that I would never lie about my age, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. I'm like, it's just people who do that. I don't want to be that insecure. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell people my real age. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. So
But yeah, so Sabu was loner.
61. Yeah,
Yeah, loner and earnest, and in a way, perfectionist.
yeah.
You know, he always wanted to make wanted to his match to be perfect, but never perfect, right? And so there's a guy, great match today, great match. He's like, no, I did this wrong. I hated this spot, and he always had a couple things that it wasn't perfect. It wasn't all that good.
And he
And
probably got that from his uncle.
yeah, yeah, but if you're never satisfied, you have that you have room to improve that much, and you'll do better. And
So
actually, yeah, he worked ECW, but he had time in WCW
right,
and WWE, 2006 version of ECW. He was part of that, so he ended up working in WWE for a while, about a year,
right.
and he even had a program against John Cena of all guys, and he enjoyed that program. And after that, he even worked places like TNA, other things, yeah, and
So
going back to independence, yeah,
so I mean, when when ECW folded, and it was like 2000,
one,
2001,
yeah,
2002, he was pretty much the big draw on the independents. You know,
yeah, him
uh,
and everybody, nobody else, right?
well, Steve Carino
Yeah,
was NWA champion, and that was a big deal too. But I remember like he would do independence with some of my friends. And one time I was at a show and I needed to get something. I wasn't back in a dressing room for very long, but I forget what it was. Anyway, I walked in, got,
Seattle,
yeah, Vancouver, Washington, uh,
Vancouver,
just
Washington, yeah,
north of Portland, just
yeah.
outside of Portland, Oregon. Anyway, I go in the dressing room, pick up whatever I need, get the hell out because I don't want to do that. That's not my thing. Anyway, I was trying to be respectful. You know that. Anyway, um, but Sabu is in there and he's pacing back and forth like the character Sabu. And I guess talking to some of my friends who were wrestlers and had worked with him a few times on indies. I guess because he probably assumed, and probably rightfully so, that many of the wrestlers and many of the people who came in like me were marks that he would just stay in character to keep them the F away from
Hey, it's okay after a
him. And I
while,
can't
though.
and I can't say I blame him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was lucky that I was introduced to him
Right, you
by
guys are
the
friends.
original
Right,
Sheik, you know, and
exactly.
I was like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir,
Right,
no, sir. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. No, but I mean, I wasn't going to bug him anyway, regardless if he was just
Mhm.
sitting in a corner or
Yeah,
pacing back and forth like a character.
yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't going to.
yeah.
I was in there to get what I needed and get the hell out.
You know, his costume, Arabian Night, it was down to Hayabusa's costume. Remember?
Right, yes.
Yeah, Hayabusa took Sabu costume and made it into his, and he also adopted camel crutch.
Right.
Well, but
So did
today's term maybe recliner, but yeah, camel crutch. Yeah,
so
yeah.
BJ wants to know, did Sabu actually have Hayabusa's last match?
No, Hayabusa's last match was against the guy, the Mammoth. Yeah, so it wasn't his last match, but he did have very famous ECW, the pay per view match.
Yeah,
Sabu, Rob Van Dam against Hayabusa and the Jinsei Shinzaki Hakushi.
right.
Yeah, they
Heatwave 90,
actually, yeah,
Heatwave
actually
98.
landed in Detroit, and actually Hayabusa and Sabu and everybody else drove from Detroit to Dayton, Ohio. Yeah, drove, yeah. And at the time, Cabu had a Winnebago camping car thing, and yeah, people thought he became nomad, yeah. 'Cause that's the style he wanted to do, has this, Winnebago camping car this is my moving hotel. And it was another style, that
Right.
nobody else did at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. That
He could,
Heatwave match was incredible.
yeah,
Heatwave
yeah,
90,
yeah.
yeah, that was
In
remarkable.
Hayabusa, and also he took care of the FMW guys, you know,
Right,
into ECW and Hayabusa, the Kanemura, quite a few guys came in and worked, and from like Sabu felt like, my connection with Japan can help, kind of thing.
right,
And it wasn't that he never got paid on them helping other people's other things, and he was the kind of guy that if he had this much, he's like, I'll give you half. He's like, not many people give you half of what they got, you
right.
know? And it's like he would go out of his way and do things for others. Really, really, that was him. Yeah. Really generous, really. And yeah, it's like very similar friends, that actually in younger days that these my dear friends had the work against each other in different independent. Sean Waltman and Sabu, very talented young wrestlers, and but they crossed path again, and it was actually that people talk about um, Sabu's retirement match against Joe Janela during WrestleMania weekend 3 weeks ago, and then it was retirement match, but was the last match, right?
Right,
That building, Sean Waltman was there.
right.
Yeah, yeah, and Sabu and Sean Waltman, talked, probably for the final time, huh? You know, and they talk to each other and hug, and then see you around, right? Yeah, but
So, is Sabu was still living in Las Vegas, wasn't he?
yeah, yeah.
He lived there for a while.
So that was like a WrestleMania weekend.
Right.
Everybody would be in town, and he felt it was a perfect opportunity,
Yeah.
yeah, to have his final match. And
I think,
he didn't even have wrestling costume anymore. It was like a white suit and white pants, Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think he drew the biggest indie crowd of that weekend. Um,
And then yeah. And he was the people expected it, of course, but that was the last final time he jumped onto barbed wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So they have Cauliflower Alley every year in Las Vegas, and every year they have a wrestling show. That is, I want to make it clear, it is not put on by the Cauliflower Alley Club,
Okay. Okay.
but it's
Okay.
in conjunction with the event. It's like an evening
Right.
event, but
Right.
it's not affiliated with Cauliflower Alley.
Right. But the same weekend
Right,
and
same,
same town.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Or
Same. Usually,
another independent group can do it.
so
Is it the
uh,
same building, same
uh,
hotel?
usually it is. If they
Yeah.
didn't, ever since um, there was some unpleasantness, they have put it in a different building. But
Okay. Okay.
might have been this year.
Cauliflower Alley, people getting like a two different group now, like a real older crowd and not so old crowd.
Yeah,
Administrative.
yeah. Um. So anyway, this show is put on and nobody gets paid for it. It's all just for fun.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of kids,
Volunteer.
a lot of young people, young wrestlers come, and it's a big
Yeah.
deal for them, to wrestle in front of some of the veterans that show up, or from Las
True.
Vegas, or
Or
kind of,
get
right,
great advice
right, right,
or
right,
even be discovered.
right, right. Now, are
Interesting.
these shows well produced? Well, here's an example. So it's in a ballroom, like a banquet room where you have different banquets and things, where they have Cauliflower Alley banquet. So it's a ballroom, and a lot of people mingle during this show. Some people will sit and watch the show, and other people, oh hey, you're here. Oh hey, it's great to see you. A little bit of like
Of
reunion
course.
because the
Yeah.
first night you go to
Sure.
see and be seen.
Sure.
So it's a ballroom, and there are light switches on the wall, and there's someone leaning up against the wall. There's a lot of people leaning up against walls. So several times during this show, various
Click.
people leaning up against the wall, clicking off the lights.
Yeah.
Turn on the lights. Hey, turn on the lights. So they turn the lights back on. Then a new person will come,
Very professional.
lean
Yeah.
against the lights. They will turn on the lights. They turn on the lights. So this keeps happening at various points through the show. Lights get turned off, come back on. It's like one of the main events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lights go out,
Yeah.
this time intentionally.
Ah.
Music comes on. Sabu's music. Back from the dressing room, Sabu is running toward the ring. He stops, grabs his chair, and as he's bending down to grab the chair, somebody who doesn't understand what the music means turns on the lights. And there's Sabu, not in the ring where the lights come on, and he's standing there doing his thing, and the crowd will go crazy like they've done thousands of times. But there's Sabu bending over to grab his chair, not even in the ring yet. And some dummy has flipped on the lights.
Well, that's also another aspect of Cauliflower Alley Club.
And
Only happens there.
and only indie wrestling. Yeah,
Not
so
only in wrestling, but it's not really fully focused on how to produce the show.
right.
It was like you said, wasn't part of the Cauliflower Alley official event.
Right.
And also
You think
it wasn't aimed for the generation who's there. Today's wrestlers, yesterday's wrestlers, today's fan, yesterday's fan.
Sabu is pissed, and rightfully so.
Because that really kills not the killing the spot, but I mean, he has to do these kind of things perfectly. And he's so pissed, you know. Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. So yeah, this week, yeah, even in Japan, there was a delay. You know, your Sunday noon, Sunday afternoon, people start, posting each other. I heard Sabu passed.
Yeah.
Then it was our early Monday morning. You know what I'm saying? So there was always delay. It stays in Japan. Then, but social media, like, well, younger people don't use Facebook now, huh? But
Right.
anyhow, but Facebook are for older people. But that was Facebook and X that it started popping up. Sabu this and Sabu that. And in Japan, it really hit big because he, like I said, he worked FMW, New Japan, and All Japan, both. So Antonio Inoki establishment, Jan Baba establishment, and then all the other independent FMW, Big Japan, the Michinoku, the even Hustle, all the existing group that he pretty much worked. And he's the only one wrestler in the last 20 years who did that. So many different companies, because a lot of wrestlers are afraid to burn the bridge, right? Start working for opposition and start working for another company or this and that. Then it's like, no, everybody wanted to have Sabu, so there was no problem, And then he actually quit All Japan, Jan Baba's All Japan, and Sabu and Rob Van Dam, were working together, as a tag team, going up against people like Stan Hansen. There's a video footage. People don't quit All Japan, but the Rob and Sabu said we're walking out because this All Japan schedule doesn't allow to work ECW's full-time schedule. So then Paul always wanted everybody to have commitment, ECW, every show, you're advertised and it's already programmed and storyline going that please, you have to be there. You gotta cancel Japan. So and canceling Japan was crazy thing in 90s, right?
Right.
Yeah, but Rob and Sabu, so Sabu and Rob together walked out on All Japan. That was interesting. Yeah. But he did come back a few times with other companies. Yeah.
Right. How is he?
And,
How's he remembered in Japan?
pretty much the same in States, hardcore icon. A lot like, well, somebody crossed between Terry Funk and the Sheik, and heritage Sheik, but the character and the way people remember, like a really fond memories and connection with Japanese people, a lot closer to Terry Funk. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not an action figure guy, but I do have one.
There it is.
Yeah. So
and
you're not an action figure guy either.
And you got your shirt.
Yeah.
So I see the shirt. That's beautiful.
It's actually like an real old shirt from like early 90s.
Yeah.
That I kept it.
It's a great shirt. It's very beautiful artwork.
Yeah.
It looks just like him.
Yeah. So been thinking about him all week.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But I want to remember him, and what he has done. And a lot of times, this is like, well, social media era, like it or not. But now a lot of old footage of, Sabu's matches, old footage popping up here and there that matches I haven't seen in a long time. So that's a good thing, And also people are finally, some of the new fans finally learning what Sabu was, and also how he originated a lot of things. Was he doing this? Was he doing this in 96? Oh my gosh,
Well, you can see a lot of his influence
ahead of time, ahead of years. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I was amazed. He got an article in the New York Times.
New York Times, yeah. I thought it was like Now it's AI, but we used to say like, photoshopped,
Yeah,
but it was real. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. No, I mean, there would have been a time not even that long ago where you'd have to be Hulk Hogan to get a mention in the New York Times,
yeah.
get an
Obituary. Yeah,
get an
yeah,
article,
yeah,
and a guy who spent very little time in WWE
yeah. Right,
um,
right.
to get an article in the New York Times is very impressive, and I think
Yeah.
it speaks to his trailblazedness,
Hmm.
if that's
Hmm.
a if that's
It also
an influence,
proved the point. Proved the point that you don't have to be WWE superstar
right?
to be the real legend.
To
You
be
know?
remembered, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a
and that's
good thing.
good,
Yeah.
yeah,
And Paul Heyman posted pretty cute,
yeah,
that illustration in Sabu's in the air and Paul with baseball cap waving and stuff. I thought it was really touching. Yeah,
yeah,
because they fought and butted head with each other, but they really complimented each other and respected each other. You know, yeah, Sabu and Paul Heyman. Yeah, I think it's like a very special relationship. Only those two could understand.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So,
All right, man. Well,
okay.
where can people get in touch with you on social?
Social media, Fumi Saito on Facebook and Fumihiko Dayo, FUMIHIKODAYO on X Twitter, and your Blue Sky Fumi Saito 2001, and Instagram, no space in between Fumi Saito 2001.
All righty. You can find me at Jim Valley on Blue Sky, um, and Jim Valley pretty much everywhere else. I'm not really on X anymore, so if you want to see what I have to say, go to Blue
Yeah,
Sky. That's
yeah.
the place to find me. All right.
Well, we
Until
gotta we gotta do this, and let's
I've been,
let's let's come back next week sometime.
yeah. I'm better now. I think my voice is better. It's a little
Yeah,
rough
you sound
after the
better.
surgery. Yeah, I think so. And we've been dealing. Sherman's been a little under the weather, but he's doing
Yeah,
okay.
I dealt with Kiki. I'm still
Yeah,
dealing with it.
yeah. So hopefully Sherman will pull through. We shall see. But
Yeah.
all right, until next time.
So long from Tokyo.
All right. All right, man. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go.